So the clock on the wall says noon and we'll get started. I know we have some folks who'll still be joining us. Welcome everyone. I'm Holly Quain, President of the Delaware Area Chamber of Commerce, and so delighted to have you here with us today. This is our 13th, believe it or not, 13th annual State of the City. And as always, our city manager and our mayor are gracious and work with their staff and accept our invitation to present this every year. And as always, there are so many of you who attend, and it's because you're interested in the community and you're engaged. So we're delighted to have all of you here today in this brand new year. So I'm going to introduce our two main presenters and turn it over to them. Mayor Carolyn Riggle has served on Delaware City Council for 17 years and has served as mayor since November 13th. Among her other duties, Mayor Riggle sits on the Airport Commission, Planning Commission, and on the Delaware, Knox, Marion, and Morrow Solid Waste District Board. Tom Homan is in his 22nd year as Delaware City Manager. As the city's chief executive, Homan oversees the operations of a full-service city, a workforce of more than 300, and an operating budget of approximately $70 million. Tom previously held manager positions in Connecticut and New York and is an accredited member of the International City-County Management Association. So no lack of experience here between our two speakers and the staff that they'll be introducing along the way. And so I'm going to turn this right over to Tom. And I should also mention we'll be recording this and it will be linking to our, there'll be a link to this in our newsletter that will be coming out next week. So Tom and Carolyn, take it away, and thank you again so much for joining us.
Thanks a lot, Holly. We really appreciate this opportunity. I know it's a different platform, which we've gotten used to, and hopefully in 22 we can return to a live in-person meeting. About this time we'd be finishing up our desserts and whatnot at Source Point. We did that back last year. I think I can add to my resume, and all of the staff can, and the mayor and everybody else, that we've operated under a pandemic. That's one of the things, obviously, that they didn't teach me in graduate school or undergrad, but I think we've done quite well. We want to take an opportunity today to talk about the state of the city. We have a PowerPoint. What would a platform meeting like this be without a PowerPoint? But I want to recognize the mayor and the vice mayor who both on, and I know Carolyn wants to maybe say a few words. And I think if there are any council members, I don't know if you're on there, but hello, and I want to obviously recognize City Council. So Carolyn, are you muted? Oh, I think she might be muted. Carolyn?
She should be on.
Okay.
There she is.
Now I'm unmuted.
There she is.
I just want to thank you all for the opportunity to allow us to do this in these difficult times. This is always very important to all of us to help share with our community what is going on. And as Tom said, this year has been very, very difficult, but we are surviving. We will make it. We are Delaware. So thank you all.
Great. So I'm going to, we're going to do this a little differently than we've done in the past. I'm going to go through a number of slides, but there are a couple of areas: transportation, economic development, natural resources, and planning. And I'm going to hand things off to our 4 directors: Sean Hughes, Dave Eflin, Ted Miller, and let them take an opportunity to kind of fill in some of the, give you a kind of an overview of what's been going on in their area. So without further ado, we're going to share here. Should be sharing soon. And if it doesn't share, share. There we go. We want to go to a slideshow. Beginning. Okay, technology is amazing. So that's our, does everybody see this?
Now.
There it is.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Great. All right. That was the test. The state of the city is strong and resilient. And I really emphasize both of those. The strength of Delaware was exhibited on so many levels last year. Not only the city as an organization, but the city as a community. And whether that was our school district, our health department, our social service agencies, the county, we obviously all came together and are still, dealing with what struck us and shocked us a year ago, essentially. A year ago, I mean, it was not quite a year ago, but we're strong. And I think one of the things I want to mention is that we are a better community, I believe, as we continue to emerge from I would consider all of the challenges that the pandemic has brought to us, again, strength and resiliency, very, very important. And I think that's the state of the city today. We learned how to work remotely. We learned that we could continue providing our services generally at the same level that we'd provided before. A couple of bullet points here, just metrics. We, completed an entire tax season, filed 17,000 income tax returns, 14,000 utility counts are managed, all still generally being done remotely at this point. One of the things that we miss is seeing our public. Currently, City Hall's undergoing a renovation. It was just kind of fortuitous that it happened during the pandemic, but that helped us in a sense because our employees are now working remotely. Hopefully, we'll return to being able to greet the public later this year. But that is obviously an important part. I guess the other, just quickly in that slide there, I think that was one of our bike paths, never give up. That was another theme, obviously, of last year. And a shout out to Ryan Fott, who's pictured in the pic there, sanitizing a doorknob. That's one of the things, obviously, that we learned pretty quickly. We had to keep the place clean. So, I think we rose to the challenge. I think we met it. And my shout out, obviously, to all of the city staff and city council helped us get to the point of being able to rise to the challenge. Finding new ways, again, just another, we were able to pivot. It's kind of an overworked term, but it's appropriate. We were able to pivot in our building department. Dave can talk about that in a few minutes. And we were able to do remote inspections. There's pictured here is Phil Johnson, one of our new building officials who's doing a virtual inspection. In last year was one of the years that we recorded more building permits, single family building permits, 390, which was the most we processed in 16 years, as indicated here, and 900 blanket permits. I think what we saw was initially we saw the system, we were in a state of shock in really March and April and May, not knowing what was going to happen. And I remember calling a number of home builders and just asking them what their observations were. And they were all, the theme was just what's happening here. But after that first kind of 90 days, and people realized that the world wasn't ending, we could make it through this. It was kind of back to where they were before, and if not more so, in terms of new home construction, existing homes, those kinds of things. So all of that took place despite what was going on around us. You're muted. It's probably one of the most up there with pivoting. and how we've pivoted. We've also heard this a lot. You're muted. And just as the slide indicates, getting comfortable with virtual life is what we were able to do, and we're still doing. And I think if you were to ask me what will remain after we do return to some normalcy, I think the ability to the telecommuting, the use of these mediums, whether it's Zoom or whether it's Teams, nothing takes the place of face-to-face meetings, but I think we've all learned that there are going to be opportunities that we'll continue to use these platforms, but we'll have the discretion. They won't be mandatory. They've become a fact of life now. Going forward, it'll be an option, and I think it'll be an option we'll use. City, I want to shout out to our council clerk, Elaine McCloskey, and our chief information officer, Susie Daly, who really helped the city get to the point where we could conduct public meetings, not in city council chambers, which is unfortunate, but we've been able to do it remotely. And what we've learned is the public tunes into the meetings and they watch the meetings, they ask questions, and they're still engaged. So we didn't trade off engagement. The engagement is just happening differently. This picture sums it all up. This is an empty Jack Florence pool at Mingo Park that we didn't fill last year, and it was a number. It really represented just kind of special events in general, whether it was the Arts Festival, July 4th, the car show. Just you just go through the litany of different events, and unfortunate. But one of the realities that we had to face. Hopefully, we're hopeful that in 21, we will be able to return to some of the events. Obviously, we'll be working closely with the health district on that. We do intend to reopen the pool. It won't necessarily be reopened in the same way. Hopefully that will happen in 22, but we do intend to fill that and bring it back to the community. And we recently hired an individual who's our rec superintendent, who's going to be able to help us open that pool safely and make it available to the community again. We had a meeting yesterday with Ironman. Hopefully that's still going to happen in 21 and these other events as well. But obviously it all has to be done in concert with the health district and following their guidelines. So last year we didn't see any of the special events. Hopefully in 21, we'll see some of those reemerge. Silver linings. Obviously, we've all learned how to become more adept at the digital platform, and whether it's sharing your screen like I'm doing now or unmuting, we're able to do that. We've also found out that telecommuting is possible. We used to get questions about, can I flex my office time? I have to work at home. I mean, the default response pre-pandemic was, I don't know if we can do that. It may not work. We now know it can work, and it will continue to work. We obviously will be welcoming everybody back at some point, but until we get to that milestone of everybody returning to work, we've been able to work remotely and have done it well. It's not ideal, obviously, because you're still trading off the social aspects of work, and you're trading off just being able to see people, which is important. And obviously, washing our hands more, we're doing that. We have formed our community partnerships are stronger, whether it's with the United Way, whether it's with our school districts, those are all stronger. I say kind of jokingly, you can multitask when you're in a Teams meeting. So sometimes that happens and sometimes it's a little annoying, but I think we've all been probably guilty of doing that. But anyway, that's just quickly some of the silver linings that we've found, and I'm sure a lot of people on this call have. Moving forward, just taking a look at where the city is going to continue, and I indicated at the beginning, strength and resiliency. And strength and resiliency will get us through 21 and allow us to reemerge as a stronger community that has shown the ability to again, be resilient, whether it's igloos that we have set up downtown or businesses finding different ways to do things. We'll continue with that. The federal government's CARES Act funding was important for the city of Delaware. We received $2.8 million, most of which was pushed back out into the community, whether it was money for our local nonprofits and community partners under the auspices of the United Way, whether it was our small business recovery grant program, which Sean can speak to, our small business grants that we provided. You see all the bullets there of different things that we were able to do. You see the Dora wraps that we put on our trash cans downtown, just advertising, marketing the designated outdoor refreshment area. That's what Dora stands for. We're hoping this was just another tool that we found, that City Council found, to help our businesses, as were the ability to permit quickly and help fund the various igloos. And there's one picture right in that picture there, restoration, but I'm sure everybody has seen the kind of now iconic corner where Amato's igloos have been set up, and you've got them on Winter Street and other locations. So the virus remains an issue, but we were also, remember, last April dealing with a flood, and that impacted our businesses significantly. We were able to respond to that. So, but the CARES Act money that came through Congress was important and remains important. And so, stay tuned to see what happens kind of in round two that was passed by Congress a couple of weeks ago and signed by former President Trump. Igloos, yeah, just a great shot here. I asked Lee to put one of these in. When these were going up, my office is now temporarily on the first floor of City Hall. I was watching these go up, and a number of people just walking by and pulling out their smartphones and sending messages out about what was happening. But these have worked out well. I know that it's made a difference for the businesses. It's additional capacity, or capacity that they may have had to trade off inside, and it gives, I think, the diners they feel safe, and just another example of how we've pivoted and how we continue to keep things strong. Transportation. I want to give Bill Farino, who's on this call. Bill is our Public Works Director and City Engineer, and Bill has been involved in a lot of transportation projects, and I'm going to let him talk about the project that is pictured here, and then talk about a couple of other initiatives that he's got going. So Bill, if this is working, are you there? Bill? Hey, Kim? Bill?
Tom, he might be muted by the host.
Oh, okay.
And you did forget.
I just asked him to unmute.
Okay.
Okay.
There he is. There he is.
Hey, Bill.
Thank you. Technology, we're still learning.
Yeah. Hey, Bill. Thanks, Bill. And I was just saying, you probably heard what I said. Just if you can, I've got a couple slides here, but this is obviously an important one that I know you've been involved with your entire career with the city.
Sure. So thank you for having us today. And I just want to talk a bit about transportation impacts us all, of course, and I want to talk about a few highlights of some of the larger projects that I think we're all interested in. Just for those of you who don't know me, I'm Bill Farino, Public Works Director and City Engineer for Delaware. This is my 26th year with the City of Delaware, and intend to finish out a career here, but probably not until we get a couple of these projects completed that the community is interested in. So the first on the slide is what we call the point improvement. We've probably all heard about it. It's a 0.6 mile corridor improvement along 3637, really from Moore Street out to 521. And I think the centerpiece of it, we all know, is the replacement of the Norfolk Southern Railroad structure with a much wider bridge to accommodate 4 travel lanes under the bridge, as well as significant pedestrian routes on both sides of the roadway. There's also intersection improvements involved with it at the 521 intersection, and of course at the Point intersection immediately west of the railroad. And also part of this project is reconstructing 36, 37 from the Point out to 521, which will upgrade the pavement, include curbs, turn lanes, lighting, street lighting, and some of the enhancements you actually see in the image on the screen, which includes some logo signage and some fairly substantial landscaping beautification package with the project. Right now, we're at just completing our stage 2 plans, and that's managed by the city, and we're ready to work on completing stage 3 plans, which essentially means final engineering plans on a project of this caliber. We hope to have that done by May or June. ODOT also is just started the property acquisition process. They will manage that through their forces. That will take the better part of 21 and into 22 to complete. Once that is complete, our plans will be complete. We'll be able to move forward with bidding. We're shooting at least right now, aiming for late 22 to mid 23 is our window to bid this project out. Again, ODOT as our partner will be bidding and performing all the construction administration of the project.
Bill,
So-
just an idea of the cost of the project.
Right.
I know-
Yep, that's my next notes here. I did want to let people know that a project of this magnitude is going to take 2 to 2.5 years to complete from the time we start it. So we'll be looking at this work through 23 into 25 likely. So construction costs right now, our construction estimates are $29 to $30 million, of which 15 of that, or half the project, is just the railroad temporary bridge, permanent bridge, and the railroad work. The total project cost is about $35 million. So we're making really good headway, still a little bit of gap in the funding, but we're fairly confident that we'll be able to start this project on time as anticipated at this point. So I'd like to go to the next slide if we can, and just talk about a couple of 2020 accomplishments. It was a busy year for transportation, even in the midst of a pandemic. We were working on some fairly significant issues. The first one is the East William Street widening. I believe the image you're seeing is of the new pedestrian bridge just east of Lake Street on 36. The project itself improved half mile of William Street. If you've been on it by now, you probably have. We widened it to accommodate a continuous center lane, changed signal locations at Channing and Cheshire Street. And the capstone of the project obviously is that pedestrian bridge. That's an important part because we needed to improve the turning radiuses in that intersection to accommodate large trucks. Again, most of the participants here have probably been through the intersection, realized the deficiencies and sight distance limitations. The much larger bridge allowed us to improve all those, improve safety, truck turning movements, and pedestrian safety and access under the bridge as well. That project in total cost $6 million from beginning to completion, of which the bridge, pedestrian bridge, was about $1 million component of that. That project and the Point represent 2 out of 3 key components of what we call our East Side improvements. The third project, we don't have an image of it yet, but that's the improvement of the East Central corridor, really from the Point going west through Lake Street down to US 23. We all know that pavement needs to be permanently improved, although we're thankful that ODOT recently repaved it, and we hope to have a few years longevity before the rough ride returns. But that project requires a reconstruction of things like curbs, sidewalk, storm sewer, pavement down to 23, as well as a fairly significant improvement at the Lake Street intersection, widening, additional turn lanes. But that part of it largely is to improve the capacity to eliminate the westbound backups we have there when traffic's heavy, especially in the afternoon. We don't have estimates on the project yet. We're still in the initial concept phases and seeking funding right now through several sources to help us start that project. Once we successfully fund enough to start the project, we're still looking at a several-year initiative in order to complete that corridor improvement. So the other project shown on the slide is the Glen Parkway connection, recently completed in 20. You're looking from north to south. You're seeing a roundabout at Berlin Station Road, and the south end of the project ends at Sycamore Drive in the city. This again was about a half-mile improvement project that we completed. And with this, we've completed the 2.1 mile link from Berlin Station down to US 23, which really opened significant access on the southeast side of the city, and especially properties east of the Olentangy River, to be able to get direct and safer access down to 23 without having to use some of the old connections and limited connections down by 23 and 315, which are some of our higher accident locations. So this project was about a $5 million effort, just recently completed late last year, and provides that access also to the Olentangy High School and alternative access, especially for all the residents in those communities immediately south and west of that area. One final phase of that project would extend Glen Parkway an additional 1.5 miles up to Curve Road, either under or over the NS Railroad track. Preliminary estimates at this point show in today's dollars a $32 to $34 million cost, of which we don't have funded at this point, and no immediate plans to advance the phase, although we are trying to finalize the concept alignment that we will go with, and then work on trying to develop some form of delivery schedule on a project like that. So those are the large highlight projects. I'd encourage you to drive these new ones that are completed and keep in tune on projects like the Point for updates on that. And we appreciate just the support and the interest of the county in these projects. And with that, I'll just turn it back to Tom.
Thanks, Bill. Bill, what's the website that you put together to people? Just, is it Access Delaware?
Sure. We have what we call Access Delaware on our Facebook page. And if you go to Access Delaware on our Facebook, you'll get fairly updated weekly information on active projects, for example, anticipated closures or detours, or just maybe something interested to people can find answers to what's happening here. Also on our city webpage, there's a button at the very bottom called Access Delaware, and that will take you to a menu of a number of project descriptions, more detailed information. You can find out about a more detailed timing, schedules, costs, our transportation thoroughfare plans on there, our roadway payment ratings are on there, and a bunch of other information. So again, a great resource to find out a little bit more about transportation in Delaware.
Bill, thanks a lot, and you'll stay on because there might be some questions at the end about transportation, but I appreciate that overview. I want to just the next slide. I want to turn control here over to Dave Eflin, our Planning and Community Development Director, who will talk a little bit about the Delaware Together project. Dave. Is he unmuted? Muted?
Okay.
There he is. Hey, thanks, Dave.
Appreciate it, Tom. Good afternoon, all. Welcome to 2021. So at least we made it to another calendar year. It's looking a little bit like the last one to begin with, but hopefully we could all persevere together. And that's a good segue to the name of our comprehensive plan, which is called Delaware Together. We have a project webpage you can certainly hit up, delawaretogether.net. You Google it up, you will find it easily, and you can learn a lot more about the project. I think we spoke a little bit about this last year. The pandemic definitely put a large crimp in our project schedule. We have a 30-person steering committee who are all outstanding and have stood with us through this length of time. Frankly, and the effort, our city is complex, so the effort is complex. But it's difficult in this format that we're on today to really roll up your sleeves and get around a table and have a lot of work get done with 30 people on a call in a very detailed way, as I think we all know in this format now. But nevertheless, the steering committee has done that and persevered through 2020, and we are nearing the conclusion of the comprehensive plan. Our goal is beginning Monday. We still have some more work to do, so don't hold me to that. But our goal is Monday that we would open our off the project webpage, our last round of public involvement. It'll be virtual, obviously, given the environment that we're in. And we think we set up a really good way for our community to provide feedback on the draft plan. Those 30 people in the steering committee and all, we estimate at the end of last year, all 44,000 Delawareans have provided initially about 1,300 comments that we've woven into the plan. We estimate we're somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple of thousand comments at this point, and guidance and direction by our great steering committee. We have a plan that encompasses 6 broad goals drafted that range from economic development to housing, managing growth, building social cohesion and equity within our community and how we do that, leveraging our resources and infrastructure, and ensuring fiscal sustainability. Among those goals, we have 59 objectives within those goals and over 230 action items in the draft plan. As I said, we're a complex, diverse, growing, and dynamic community, and that is our strength, and that is our history, and that is our future. And we look forward to bringing this plan forward to everybody and receiving comment and moving forward to our planning commission and our city council for formal adoption and unveiling of the plan, and then rolling up our collective sleeves and getting to work and doing the heavy lifting of implementing the plan.
Dave, just if people wanted to access the Delaware Together, is it you've got a website set up as well, right?
Yep, just Google DelawareTogether.net or just Delaware Together, should pop right up at Google for you, and you will notice city brand and all that stuff right on the front page.
That's great, Dave. I appreciate that, and really all of the work you and your team and the consultants who have helped us get to this point, and it's exciting that we're nearing the finish line, and it's great. You want to just mention quickly the ability of your staff to adjust and pivot?
Sure, Tom, thanks. Working with our partners in the development community, that's who we provide a lot of service to, obviously, with our permitting process, as well as our residents who are doing their own projects. We tried to utilize the KISS principle, especially in 2020, and try to keep things as simple as we could in a very complex environment that we were all dealing with, an unknown environment. And so we used the high technology of some recycling toters, the blue toters, and put some directions on them and set them outside of our offices as our offices were closed to the public, and our building community and our public could drop plans off. We could get them, do our reviews, collect the inevitable fees for those projects, and keep going with that part of the economy as best we could. And I'm extremely proud of all my staff. They rolled up their sleeves and they jumped right in, and nobody has batted an eyelash for moving forward with our process. And it's a good thing we were able to keep that going, because we did total the second highest ever total for single family home permits last year, which is just a testament to our community and in the place we live, and that people want to be here, and in our building communities. Commitment to our community. Our blanket permits were a record high last year. Blanket permits are a reflection of our residents putting investment in their individual properties, decks, basement finish outs, sheds, fences, all kinds of things. Sometimes additions, a lot of pools last year. And actually, believe it or not, a pool permit already this year. So maybe there's some Polar Bear Club members out there or something. But so that is a good thing, and to me, a sign that people feel very comfortable in our community, even in a year of pandemic and high unemployment generally, in putting investment back in their communities. So we certainly hope that continues.
Thanks a lot, Dave. And yeah, stick around. There might be some questions, but appreciate your.
Can I just
Hey, there's
interject
Carolyn.
something?
Yeah, Carolyn.
This steering committee, I mean, some people may think it's just another book that we'll put together and sit on the shelf. This has been going on for 3 years, I think, Dave, now that this group has gotten together. So when we launched this last community involvement, please get involved. This is our vision, what we're going to see for hopefully the next 10 years. But we want to know that what we're doing at the Planning Commission, at City, is what our constituents want us to do. That's why your input is so very important. This will be our guideline as we continue to grow, as we continue to listen to developers and what they want to do. So please, please get involved and let us make sure we hear you all. Thank you.
Great pitch. Thanks, Carolyn. I appreciate that. And I want to we want to move on to parks and natural resources, and one of the silver linings I didn't mention was is that we're seeing more people utilizing our parks, and Ted Miller, our Parks and Natural Resources Director, will talk about that. Ted?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, parks use was definitely up. I think most of the summer parks were used about 60% increase in use over the summer. So that was one outlet for people. And so we definitely wanted to keep that going and offer as many amenities in the park as we could. And so we kept moving forward with plans that were already in place. And Boulder Park was one of those that we were able to put that mile loop trail in. And we've got some other plans for some natural play areas and some obstacle course areas in there. That all these amenities were what we heard from the public when we had public meetings, just to get input in previous years. So we're implementing those. We continued that in 2020. The Mill Run, we kind of did a detour there. We with the usage up in the parks, we really wanted to open up more of that area out at the Mill Run Park. And so we looked at doing an unimproved trail. I think that was probably in early April, May, just to open up additional areas. And that was well received by the public. So that was a good detour that we were able to take during the pandemic. When Ross Street Park was another area that we are looking at doing improvements into 2021, where kind of opening that area up a little bit more as park area, more green space. That was, again, what we heard from the public out there that they wanted to see more of out there, and we're moving forward with those plans. And just other plans that we had in place with the new toy at Mingo Park. We did the new playground. As you know, playgrounds were closed earlier in the year, so we saw that as an opportunity to take the old playground out and get the new playground in. I think we opened up playgrounds in midsummer and didn't miss too much time on this, but it's been busy all summer. That's one of our busiest playgrounds in the city. And just continuing to work with transportation. There's a Locust Curve multi-use trail that is mentioned there. That'll be the final link along Central to allow pedestrian traffic through the west side there. And it'll be a real increase in safety, as right now the road is the only passage on there now. So completing that final link will be a huge success on the west side. And, you know, leading up to that, we did bring out the needs assessment survey, which was phase 1 of our master plan in the parks. And what we learned from that is what is typical. The public wants to see more pedestrian trails, more active transportation links to destination points like schools and parks. But not just that, I think they're more than just recreation anymore. They're more transportation. People are using trails to get to these destination points, even commercial or work areas. So, you know, with the next slide, Tom, we can.
Just before you leave there, real quickly for everybody on the call, just this will also be the first year, 2021, that the city will be running its own recreation programs. We've been under contract with the YMCA for the last several years. They've done a good job of providing recreation, but given what they were going through last year with their organization in terms of having to kind of shrink, and they've had a lot of staff reductions, we thought it was a good time to kind of evaluate our partnership. The partnership with the Y will continue, but the city will kind of resume and reestablish its recreation department and programs. And that's one of the things on Ted's list, I know.
Yeah, recreation program is going to be a big thing. I think that brings normalcy to a lot of people's lives, and I think it's important that we bring that back as much as we can this summer. The pool is we're planning on opening that Memorial Day, so we'll have more information on that. But that's something that is on the top of our priority list this summer, is to get the pool open and get some of that recreation programming back to the community, get people back out, especially our youth. So, with that, what we've heard is in the needs assessment is we need more greenways, more connection points. And so one of the opportunities in Delaware is the Delaware Run area. This area has been looked at for several years in the city of Delaware, even long before I've gotten here, but there's a lot of opportunities along there. So we're looking at trying to make some of those connection points. We have Blue Limestone Park right along the Delaware Run. So that's a logical connection or a destination point along there. So branching off of that to try to make some connections to some of the areas along the run, like, the Grady Hospital, the golf course, and even into the downtown area. There's just some huge opportunities there. So we want to kind of get that off the ground. And as everyone knows, in a rural or in an urban setting, putting a trail in is sometimes not the easiest thing. There's lots of roadblocks and things in there. So we're working to overcome those and try to get some of that built and, let the public enjoy that, and hopefully want to see more of that. And Delaware Run is kind of one of our priorities, but there's several other areas throughout the city. And we've assembled a Delaware Greenway Committee that a group of citizens throughout the city that will help us, form that vision and see where we want to see those greenways. And like I said, it's not just recreation anymore. It's a lot of more transportation. I mean, just getting to schools and using those active transportation routes across the city. I think it makes a lot more enjoyable, and that's what we've heard from the public. So we're definitely pursuing that more and more, and hopefully we'll have some on the ground here soon.
Yeah, just building on that, Carolyn, Mayor Riggle talked about the vision and the comp plan. One of our visions is to be able to get from downtown, from Winter Street, start there, and be able to go all the way out to Houck Road and eventually farther west without crossing a street, without encountering a truck or a car. And that Delaware Run is an asset that will allow us to do that. And we know it's ambitious, but it's important to have that vision to hopefully someday realize it. So Ted, anything more? If you want to you'll stay on for questions. Yeah,
I'll stay on. And, just to add, Tom, Delaware is surrounded by a lot of great natural resource areas, with the state parks and with the preservation parks. So, trying to make those connections throughout, to reach the citizens is another goal of ours in the future.
And
thanks
Ted,
a lot. Yeah, hey,
Ted, how did our golf course weather through the pandemic?
Again, Mayor, our golf course did very well. People are really enjoying the recreation, and our golf course is seeing a resurgence right now. So hopefully that continues. And, one of our goals in our golf course was to get more youth out playing, and that was accomplished this year. So hopefully we can continue that in 2021, and the golf course is looking good right now.
Yes, it is one of our hidden gems that we have here in Delaware. So there's another silver lining to COVID. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. And just real quickly, for the folks, we own and operate the Oak Grove Cemetery, and we've got big plans for that as well. But that'll be another presentation. But we understand that we need to modernize the cemetery. We have a plan for that, and we'll be happy to share it with you at some point. Thanks, Ted. Appreciate it. Economic development. The economic base of the community is very, very important. It's not only the industrial park, PPG, the other businesses out there. It's not only our newer businesses, it's our core city, but it's also economic development is about the city making investments. And what you're seeing in this picture is an opportunity that the city saw and actually pursued with City Council's authorization. The city of Delaware, purchased those two buildings together with some of the surrounding properties at an auction about a couple of months ago. And those two buildings, that property was the site of a Hilton True Hotel that was actually moving its way through the approvals process when the pandemic hit. And leisure and hospitality sectors have been really, really affected adversely by the pandemic, but there's still a great interest in a hotel in our downtown at this location. So with City Council's authorization, we bid on the property. We were the successful bidders. We own it, and we're now starting a process of taking a look at how do we put the pieces in place to bring a hotel to our downtown, which would just add so much to our community, to Ohio Wesleyan. It's something we've been talking about as long as I've been here, if not longer. We think there's an opportunity. So the city made an investment, and this was important. And sometimes when you have the ability to do that, we were able to here. So I'm going to let Sean Hughes, our Director of Economic Development, take it from here and just kind of talk about some of the initiatives that he's seen and some of the work, obviously, that he and his staff oversaw last year. Sean. As long as he's not muted. You there?
Okay, sorry.
Hey, Sean.
Unmuted. Happy New Year, Chamber
Thanks,
of Commerce. Good to see everyone. I miss you all. As Tom alluded to earlier, the pandemic situation was definitely a situation that tested the mettle of a community's business retention expansion efforts. And the city of Delaware was uniquely positioned to respond to that situation. We'd already established ourselves as a concierge service to businesses of all sizes, including small businesses, and we're able to scramble our jets very quickly. We had a very well-built and growing communications database of not only the businesses, but also resource providers that allowed us to communicate very quickly to large numbers of businesses and help them access those resources and get programs out to them and find out what their needs were. As Tom talked about, with the Spring Street project here, even though BRE was our main focus in 2020, we served 847 businesses at least in that given year and saved many jobs through that process. But we know that we couldn't rest on our laurels, that even though leads and projects were down to about 30% of what you would typically see in a given year, it was a time that we had to continue to push forward with planning, with site preparation, and the things that are necessary to move a community forward post-pandemic here, and to be able to attract companies, jobs, and investment in our community. The Spring Street area was definitely an area where we continue to do that. We've brought on consultants to talk about important things like parking, infrastructure, funding mechanisms that can help us to achieve all of that, and street beautification, with hopes that if we do bring a hotel developer back to the table, we'll have the tools in place that are necessary to quickly work with that entity and get the project done. I don't know if can I move the slide forward? There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you. So another area that we've often talked about over the course of the last several years, 2015, Sawmill Parkway opened up, and we saw Innovation Park open shortly thereafter. And that, if you go out there today, you see not only the first building, Engineering Material Systems, but you see Symmetry 2, and now the 60,000 square foot sister building, Innovation Center, which right now is about 60% full. In fact, we had one of the largest headquarter expansions of a retailer in the United States last year with American Freight. It's one of the fastest growing retailers in the United States. They doubled their labor force size by moving from their current facility on 3637 Sunbury Road to Innovation Center. So that just shows you the importance of having this area prepared for projects, for companies to quickly make decisions and move into these facilities. We had been looking at a parcel or a couple parcels that we often refer to as the Wilgus property just south of the airport there for a few years. And it was annexed in a couple of years ago, zoned, and was being marketed by planned communities. Fortunately, we'd had several conversations with developers. I could probably say a dozen developers have come to the table through the last couple of years to talk about that parcel and other parcels in that area and try to figure out how we can partner to make long-term investments in infrastructure to encourage pad readiness and projects that bring jobs and investment. Well, I'm happy to say that in 2020, in the midst of the pandemic, we did land a relationship, and that was with Excel Project Management based out of Columbus. We'd been having talks with them for a few years, and about several parcels again in that area. And this is the one they've really settled on. They've put the Wilgus property in contract. They've named it Sawmill Point Business Park. And now we're in a process of trying to develop that relationship. It will more than likely look like a public-private partnership where they're putting in private dollars. Other developers who access the infrastructure will put private dollars in. We'll try to secure grant monies, and we'll have to spend some city funds to get the infrastructure necessary in the ground to serve this 90 acres plus the additional 500 plus acres south of there. So, but you're talking about 5,000 linear foot of roadway, bike trails, street lights, stormwater management. All of that adds up to about $14 million of investment that needs to be made in the area. And that's really why these public-private partnerships are so important for us to be able to leverage the private relationship, the private dollars, and any kind of TIF proceeds and grants that are out there to make that investment happen. The state of Ohio has the Ohio Site Inventory Program that we're currently trying to leverage for some grant dollars to help us with that. That will be a project that we're taking forward this year in 2021 to try to secure those funds. But they will be very critical to our success and trying to move this site forward. We're already marketing the site and trying to pull in employers and have had interest. So we honestly just can't get the infrastructure done soon enough, but we're working towards that.
Thanks, Sean. That's a great overview, and my thanks obviously to you and your staff for what you're doing. And we want to also point out we have had some discussions with Delaware County about the role the county can play in some of these areas, these economic development zones, to assist. And so hopefully we'll be continuing those conversations this year. Sean, if you stay on, there might be some questions if we have enough time. I want to try to kind of wrap things up here and talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is something that really has been a priority of ours. I mean, I think always had talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion, but the inflection point following the death of George Floyd, I think, just brought it to bear even more. And we've had some community conversations that started last year with the Delaware African American Heritage Council. They presented City Council with a call to action, and Ujima, the Ujima Consortium, has also pulled together. We've had some conversations with them, obviously involving the Second Ward Community Center, Carrie Joy Coit and her team. And we're also kind of looking internally at our organization. And I'm going to have Kyle Kreidler, Assistant City Manager, just talk briefly about that. And then obviously we want to kind of continue the community conversations. Those have been, I think, hamstrung somewhat by the platform that we're in. So hopefully at some point later this year, we'll be able to have those kind of in-person community conversations around the issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and what that means to our community. And actually, it's something that is actually covered in the comprehensive plan. And David talked about social cohesion, so that's something that we're that's talked about there, and in some action steps that are recommended. So Kyle, do you want to just kind of give a 60-second overview of the internal work that we're doing?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. As you mentioned, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a very important priority for the city, especially in light of everything that has gone on, over the last 6 months to a year. So internally as a staff, we have met around 5 times now, dispersed throughout the city, a good representation of different departments, different backgrounds, different levels of experience. But ultimately, we really want to create some internal goals to make ourselves stronger as an organization and more representative of the community that we serve. We've had a number of training opportunities to better educate ourselves on the topic, plenty of great discussion. And as we get into 2021, start to set goals around how we can better improve ourselves as an organization from a hiring standpoint, procurement practices, training and recruitment, and bringing people through our organization to a wider net of individuals, throughout the community. So it's very exciting time for us, and we look forward to further engagement both internally and to the community.
Thanks a lot, Kyle. I appreciate that, and the work that you're doing. That effort is also being co-led with Jessica Feller, who is our human resources manager. So both she and Kyle have been doing a great job with those conversations internally and helping us on this issue. We're about to wrap up here. Just a plug. Delaware is now in the top 50 list. I think before that we were in the top 100. Every year gets a little better. And there's just lots of reasons to live in this community, in this county, in this region. We're happy to be a part of it. On the horizon, lots obviously that we just covered. This is a shot of the most recently repainted water tower near our industrial park. And obviously one of the assets that we have is land. We have lots of it. So we hope that economic development efforts will continue. We are going to continue to work with City Council on their priorities, which came out of a retreat that they had 2 years ago. We're looking at obviously more white collar employment, looking at a special improvement district in the downtown, which would help make funding available for improvements within the downtown. Parking obviously is there. Attainable housing is important. Ted talked about recreation. City Hall renovations are wrapping up. Transportation funding, it's one of the big ones. Ted Miller talked about Greenway, taking a look at ways of involving our public in our budget planning process. And then energy aggregation is something that City Council has asked us to report on, and I know we'll be making a report about that later this month. We organize our work around kind of 4 pillars of great community: safe city, healthy economy, effective government. You probably saw those last year. These are the 4 main kind of pillars or themes that we have a strategic plan that's established around. So with that said, I think we are at a point for questions. I'm not sure how that's going to work, or if it's going to work, if anybody's still on the call, but I appreciate it. I'm going to push escape, and I think that will get me back to.
So if anyone has a question, you can go to the chat box at the bottom of your screen and type in a question, and I will share that with our panel. While we're waiting for anything that might come up there, I want to thank Tom and Carolyn again, and Bill, Dave, Ted, Sean, and Kyle for joining us. And I'd also like to say that yes, for those of us who've been around a long time, longer than some of us even care to admit, every time we've seen a lot of economic disruptions, lots of different kinds over the years, and caused by many different reasons. Obviously, this one, and we continue to say this unprecedented time, but I have never seen in my lifetime an economic disruption that advocated for small business the way the last 10 months have. It was confusing, and it was not probably unveiled in the most organized manner, but from the federal government down to supporting small business immediately and recognizing those needs in a way that I've never seen before. When we think about the recession, 2008, 2009, there was no such thing as too small to fail. And this time around, small business was at the forefront. And I think that if there's a silver lining for small business, it was this awareness among the public, even at a national level. And I'd also like to absolutely give a shout out to the city of Delaware and how it reacted, and Main Street, Delaware, and how it reacted to its constituency immediately and helping prop up. And the chamber's office sits in the middle of that floodplain, and we were impacted too. And there was that day, that morning, coming into work, and I think our businesses had just about reopened right after the shutdown, the state shutdown, and then hit by the flood. It is remarkable. Whatever happens at the national level, functional, dysfunctional, however you look at it, at a local level, it continues to work, and we continue to partner with each other despite our differences. And that has always been true and remains true.
Thanks a lot, Holly. We appreciate that.
Just remarkable.
Yep.
So there is one question here. Somebody who wants to eat in an igloo. Are they only by Amato's?
No, the igloos are in front of Restoration Brew Works, and they're also on Winter Street in front of the 3 restaurants there, Speck, Miserito, and 1808.
Yes. So
And I think they're behind Restoration Brew Works as well.
Yes.
Right, yes. And while we're waiting for any other, I would also like to say that the chamber has, the things at the chamber have looked very different for the last 10 months as well. The chamber culture really revolves around its relationships with each other, and we haven't been able to do that in person. And a lot of the hallmarks of what chambers do, literally bringing them together to meet and to network and create those relationships that encourage business with each other, have been really cut off at the knees. And so that's been difficult for us to not see you all at business before and after hours and ribbon cuttings and postponing. I will say, if there's one thing about the pandemic, it's that when we plan something, everybody understands when we have to pull back. Everybody, you don't have to explain why. So we, of course, look forward to a second half of 2021, getting everybody in the same room. And of course, our big event, which would have been held on the 1st of February, our annual dinner, it was a difficult and easy decision to make, obviously, to cancel that. But now we pieced together a Zoom sort of event. We will be sending out a link to that next Tuesday, I believe. It will be our version of the annual dinner. We will say goodbye to our outgoing board members, welcome our incoming board member leadership, and we have some awards, of course, this year to give out. And it lasts, I think the event will last about 35 minutes. And I just learned today, I understand that there will be a blooper reel at the end of it. So you might want to sit through that. I'm never really sure year to year what's going to show up on our videos, but we'll see what that's like. So when you get that email next week, be sure to click on that and view that as well.
Thanks, Holly. And I just want to, I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out to Lee Yoakum.
Yes.
Lee, every year, is a critical part of putting this presentation together. So a shout out to him. And also, if you haven't seen the Columbus CEO January issue, there's a nice piece in there about the city's efforts of being able to provide to help its local businesses, and it features Olivina and some of the work that we've been able to do with them. So, anything more, Holly? Any other questions?
I see no other questions. I just
Great.
want to thank you again. 13 years we've been doing this,
Yep.
and 13 years you've said absolutely. We'll see you. Tell us when and where, and we'll be there.
Yeah.
And you're always prepared, and we appreciate everything you've done and everything going forward. And we wish everyone a very safe 2021.
Thanks, Holly.
Thank you
Thanks
to
everybody who joined. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly, very much for including us.
You bet. Thanks.